From the New York Times, Trump floats using force to take Greenland and the Panama Canal. I would love to see a movie of just like U.S. troops storming the beaches of Greenland and the people of Greenland welcoming them as liberators of the evil Danish Empire. But in all seriousness, the New York Times says President-elect Donald J. Trump refused on Tuesday to rule out the use of military or economic coercion to force Panama to give up control of the canal that America built more than a century ago, and to push Denmark to sell Greenland to the United States. Look, they say, in a rambling hour-long news conference, Mr. Trump repeatedly returned to the theme of American sacrifice in building the canal and accused China falsely of operating it today. When pressed on the question of whether he might order the military to force Panama to give it up in violation of treaties and other agreements reached during the Carter administration, we all think fondly of the Carter administration, or to do the same with Greenland, he said, no, I can't assure you on either of those two. We need them for economic security. The Panama Canal was built for our military. I'm not going to commit to that. You might have to do something. Mr. Trump's statements propelled his repeated calls for expanding American territory to a new level, one that is bound to royal three American allies, Panama, Denmark, which handles Greenland's foreign and security affairs, and Canada, which he has mocked as America's 51st state. I gotta ask a question. Cliff, why are they pretending to be mad about this?
I think I'm more mad about it. I mean, if Canada comes in as a 51st state, I mean, I think we're going to have some problems both in the Senate and the House.
Yeah, it's 41 Democrat electoral votes.
Yeah, that would be no bueno.
But if we subjugate them as a territory with or a colony, we don't know no colonies anymore, They can have autonomy under Trump. Right. But then Trump can intervene as the new head of state.
And as the colonizers we are, we could just go ahead and colonize them.
No, but in all seriousness, like Canada's not going to become the 51st state. You know what I mean? Greenland would be negotiated over a trade deal. Panama, of course, was built by the United States and would be negotiated over a trade deal. This is it's performative outrage. Who really cares?
I could honestly envision a situation where Panama was a flashpoint for a larger conflict, so possibly a conflict between the United States and China. Particularly seeing as that's the reason that there's any kind of friction friction between the U.S. and Panama as it is. The U.S. did build it. The U.S. invested a lot of money. A lot of Americans died. Malaria was a big problem back then.
Yeah, but do you guys think they're becoming territories, or do you think these would actually become states?
So as far as that kind of stuff, definitely don't want to see Canada as a state, right? Yeah. I don't know if we should, I don't think that I want to see Greenland become a state either. Territories, maybe, but I mean, if I understand correctly, there's only like 50,000 people in Greenland. And so I don't know that they have enough people to actually become a state. I think that the actual number of people that live there has an effect on whether or not it can be a state. This is just my basic understanding.
I think we should invade Canada, remove their government, and then relinquish control. So I think it was who was it? Was it Polk? The U.S. basically won Mexico in a war. And then Polk was like, Mexico, you can have it back. We don't want it. And a lot of Americans were pissed about it. They're like, whoa. We won this in conquest, and you gave up all this land. So I'm looking at it this way. We can look at the Canadian government and see it's in total disarray. And I'm half kidding. Calm down, liberals and corporate press. But if the U.S. putting pressure on Canada, like Trump did with Trudeau to remove Trudeau from power, is exactly what I'm talking about. That's a good thing. People need to understand this. Trudeau resigned because the Trump tariff threats destroyed their government. They're panicking because they rely so heavily on us and us not on them.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of economic coercion we're talking about, which I think is a good thing.
I mean, I was talking about it last night. Canada exists because the United States allows them to exist. Their entire defense is because of the United States. Yep. Now, they do have a military, fair enough, but the U.S. is NATO, right? And the U.S. does I think 75% of the heavy lifting for NATO. The U.S. trade with the U.S. is what keeps Canada in business. if the United States wants Canada to do something, Canada's going to do it eventually. Like the U.S. will figure out ways to apply soft power, and they're going to do it. They don't have the ability to stand up to the U.S. and say, no, we're not. We're putting our foot down. About the only thing that we're not going to be able to get away with is actually literally annexing the country.
Right. I mean, let's be real. Donald Trump spoke on Truth Social about a tariff, and Trudeau was removed from office. Basically. I mean, he's still there, but he's basically done. His career is over because Trump said some words on the internet.
Yeah.
Canada is basically a vassal of the U.S. as it is. So we don't need them to interfere in our politics. Trump's going to get in, and he can, if he puts a tariff on Canadian goods, they will drop to their knees and beg Trump to stop. And Trump need only say, you're going to do what we tell you to do.
Yeah.
I don't understand why Canada gets to suckle the teat of America, and we give them special deals so that they can live in luxury. And then when Trump says we're going to put a tariff on your goods because it is only by our good graces you get free trade in the first place, they lose their minds. If we're doing something wrong, no, you don't get to just trade with us. We decide on our terms what a good deal is, and if the deal is not good, then you can go somewhere else. Good luck, Canada, with your reindeer. They got oil. I appreciate that. And I'm not saying Canada doesn't have trades with us, right? They sell us oil. They got tar sands, and we negotiate. And we have the right as a nation to be like, nah, we're not interested anymore. We're going to renegotiate terms on this deal.
Well, I think that Trump represents a lot of people pushing back on all these unfair deals. I mean, look at NATO, right? What did you just say, Phil? I mean, the amount of money that we pour into NATO, and somehow we have an equal vote, and it's like, oh, well, and that's just been that way for years. That's why I think you look at this photo of Trump Jr. and Charlie Kirk and Sergio Gore standing there. It's like, look, obviously this is all going to be peaceful, I would predict at this point.
Yeah.
But I think that, aren't we just kind of tired of getting the low? We always are the ones that it's never fair for us, and that's just accepted.
Yep.
That's what's crazy about the Panama thing. You've got the New York Times saying Donald Trump would violate treaties set by Carter. It's like, oh, we all hold Carter in such great reverence. Yeah, listen, we built the thing. We want to renegotiate terms. We, as the American people, we work hard. Trees were planted for the next generations to sit beneath in that shade. And what's wrong with Trump saying, I want to renegotiate terms?
And furthermore to that point, the United States did build the Panama Canal. The U.S. has been the global hegemon that has kept the seas free for global trade for definitely the past 75 years. Some would argue for even longer. The U.S. Navy makes international trade much safer. That's why, whatever you think of the U.S. overall, just the fact that we have made the seas safe for international trade has made the United States a net positive for the world. No matter what else someone wants to criticize the U.S. for, the reason that all of the countries around the world can send their goods around the world, and about the only place that you have to worry about is if you're off the coast of Somalia.
I'm the captain now.
Yeah, because they get a little wacky. But other than that, like, the U.S. does have the authority to say you can't dictate terms on the Panama Canal because we built it and we keep the rest of the world safe to trade.
The U.S. used to be a dad who would go to his kid and say, shut your mouth. If you want to buy the video game, go mow some lawns and make some money. And then it turned into the desperate, aging, cool mom who was like, I'll give you anything you want if you just pretend like you like me and you think I'm cool. This idea that the New York Times is like, we should just give all of these things to every other country. It's like, yeah, okay, well, that will destroy the United States. Why don't we be responsible? And I'll tell you exactly why this matters to me. I hate war. I think we shouldn't be invading other countries. That's the scumbag option. The easy option is we maintain economic control of the things we build, the things we protect. We work trade agreements that benefit us, so we maintain strength and power, and then there isn't war because we have the economic control.
Yeah.
And that avoids death. And so that's why I've long said with Ukraine and Russia, Russia's in the wrong because they lost the soft power battle, which is subterfuge, which is economics and all of these things. So they resorted to physical violence. I think if we're going to be playing any kind of game, it's we have the power economically. We will brain drain your countries, and I mean that in the actual sense, not the H-1B garbage. We will take your best and brightest. We'll build the best companies. We will control the high seas. We will control what we build. You can trade with us. No more invasions, no war. We win through economics and diplomacy.
You know, I love the Trump line when he says, you know, they're always trying to grill him on his foreign policy. And when he says, I want to end the dying, right? Because it really is that simple, right? There's always going to be, you know, troops in here, troops out there. But like, I mean, even the New York Times article we had up, where they literally are saying in an hour-long rambling speech, right? Like any time, like how do you'd think there'd be some reset, which there isn't with them. They're just going to have to fail.
Some there have been.
Well, yes, but I just mean like it's to make it that obvious still. But when it comes to foreign policy, man, the institutions, and they just hate the fact that is Trump's gut instinct. He wants to stop the dying. And to me, I mean, I still think that's one of the major reasons why he got elected.
Yeah.
Is this idea that people are tired of having Biden couldn't even speak a sentence, let alone pick up the phone to call these foreign dictators. Trump represented at least some rational thought.
Afghanistan was the moment Joe Biden's approval rating inverted.
Dropped.
Because we saw the death of U.S. men and women in uniform. We saw the complete and utter collapse of a 20-year investment of the United States, for better or for worse. If you want to argue we shouldn't have gone there in the first place, there was still an effort to maintain security and keep China and our enemies from seizing this territory. And it fell apart overnight because Joe Biden's a moron. The plans they had for Afghanistan, as Ian calls it, was a surrender. And every move they made, there's no logic within it. This flipped things in this country because many people in this country don't like war. So when you see tensions escalating, the expansion of ISIS, et cetera, you know what's funny is that in Trump's term, he crushes ISIS, no new wars. Ukraine actually was cooling down when in 2014, when I went there and the beginning of the separatist movement, it was bubbling up. I wasn't there when it broke off into full-on conflict, but they were calling it a civil war erupting.
You went to Ukraine or Russia?
Ukraine.
Yep.
I was in Ukraine 3 times. So I went there in 2014 at the start of the Euromaidan protests, which ultimately led to the ousting of Yanukovych, which ultimately led to the separatist movement, and then what people were referring to as a civil war. I came back after Trump was president, and you know what my friend in Ukraine told me? No, we don't call it a civil war anymore. There's some fighting now, but it's really calming down. And I'm like, whoa, okay, wow. That's pretty crazy. I was like, really? I thought it was going to be like a civil war or something. And then Biden gets in, and what do you get? Once again, I think, yeah, exactly. It's insanity. The Biden administration, Obama, Kamala, Hillary, all of their ilk have no idea how to manage the system, and Trump's been right the whole time. I think people saw all of that, and they also recognize that Trump's joking half the time. He's being silly, or, when it comes to like the use of military economic force, we're not going to see the military invading Panama, but the media still pretends like it's 2019 or it's 2022. Yeah, no, it's changed. People saw through this, and it's time we got some sound foreign policy.
Well, and Republicans now are backing off. We've talked about Defend the Guard, the bill that Bring Our Troops Home runs. And now Republicans, this will be a big test. Do they keep pushing forward? Because we do. I mean, all these guardsmen are overseas. That's one of the best bills at the state level. And so that's going to be an interesting test to see, because it's easy when Biden's in the White House, right? But if you got a Republican president and you want to limit the guardsmen that they can use, this is the time to do it. I think Trump would support it publicly, even though he's the guy, but that'll be a big test in 25 to see if those bills go forward.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.